Good morning, Wildcats, and welcome to day 3 of online learning. So yesterday in the video that I had for you, I was talking about figurative language, and I apologize because the last part of my video on personification got cut off. So today I'm going to pick up there. And I just want to remind you really quickly before we continue that I have the chapter 11 assignment for Andrew Carnegie posted that was posted on Monday. It is due tomorrow. And as well, I have the figurative language assignment that goes with these videos posted too. It is due on Friday, so just a couple reminders there. And I just want to remind you too that anytime you have questions, just please feel free to email me or leave a comment on Google Classroom or via Student Square, and I will be happy to respond to those and help you with any concerns you may have. Okay, let's get started today. Much like yesterday, you're going to need a pencil and just a scratch piece of paper. I have the other 5 types of figurative language that we're going to be going over, and you are going to be doing an exercise just like the ones that we did yesterday where I give you some examples and non-examples. You're going to put a check if it is that example or an X if it is not that example. Personification is when the author gives a non-human object a human characteristic, and you want to make sure that it is indeed a human characteristic that is being given to that non-human object. When we talk about non-human objects, we mean things that are desks or pencils or the floor or window or candle. Those are objects, okay? And giving them some sort of human characteristic. That might be an emotion, or it might be a specific action that only humans can do that non-humans cannot. So here are the personification examples, and you want to take your scratch paper and you're going to try to decide if they are examples of personification or not. Check if they are, X if they are not. You want to pause this video because shortly I'm going to put the answers up, so please pause it so you have some time to look over them. When you're ready, hit the play button again. Okay, Carl ran the washer and dryer 3 times today. This is not personification. It may look like the washer and dryer are running, but they are not physically jogging like a human. If that were the case, it would be personification. But the word ran actually has 2 different definitions. And here it means that it is operating. So they're performing their task, the washer and dryer. They're operating. So in this case, it's not personification. Tricky one. 2, the rubber band hugged the poster. Hugging is not something that non-humans can do, so that indeed is personification. Number 3, time flew when they played their favorite board game. Flying is not an action that humans can do on their own, at least not without the aid of an airplane or some other device. So this would not be personification. 4, the novel cried when its reader put it back on the bookshelf. Crying is a human action, so the novel being given that ability is personification. The tulips swayed in the wind. They actually do have the capability to sway in the wind. So in this scenario, this is just a normal sentence, is not personification. And 6, the raccoon made a grocery list before going shopping in the neighborhood trash cans. So making a grocery list, which would require some writing, thinking, paper, that sort of thing, and shopping is something that humans do, not something that we would attribute to raccoons. So that's personification as well. Next, we have imagery. And many of you have gotten very good at identifying imagery, so I'm not going to spend as much time on this one. But it is language that causes the reader of whatever text to create specific images of that text in their mind. Now, if you're going to do that, you need to make sure that you write with lots of adjectives. Adjectives describe things like color, shape, size. You should have specific nouns. So instead of just saying flower, what kind of flower? Instead of just saying dog, what kind of dog, etc. It should appeal to one or more of your 5 senses. Your 5 senses are things like your sense of sight. Obviously, that's the biggest thing in imagery. But it also could be your sense of smell or touch or taste, etc. Here are imagery examples and non-examples. Again, you want to pause your screen, check if they're an example, X if they are not, and then press play again when you're ready to see the answers. All right, this one is an example of imagery, the first one. We have lots of adjectives, red, white, blue, describing color, fountain, firework, specific type of firework. And we also have another phrase here that helps us understand that it was almost hidden by the smoke of all the other fireworks. So this is a good image that if you ask someone to read this, most of us would come up with the same picture in our mind. Number 2, Benita has a cat. Now, this is not a good example of imagery. The word cat is not specific. There are no adjectives to describe it. There's no adjectives to describe Benita, so no on this one. Number 3, the fawn is like a cinnamon roll. This might be a start to imagery, but really there's a bigger thing going on here. Maybe you spotted it. This word like, and we have a noun in front compared to an unlike noun. This would be a simile, not imagery rather. 4 and 5 are both good examples of imagery. Notice again we have lots of adjectives: soft, white, armless, office. We have specific types of things: a calla lily, an office chair. We have more adjectives: black, white, sage green up here. So these are good examples of imagery. And number 6 is not a good example of imagery. Marcus bought Sheila a bouquet. Doesn't tell us what kind of flowers. There are no adjectives here. We don't know what Marcus looks like. We don't know what Sheila looks like. So not a great example of imagery. Okay, an idiom is a phrase that does not mean the same thing in the dictionary as it does in our culture. So phrase, let's break this down a little bit, means that it's more than one word. So we're talking like 2 or 3 words here, maybe 4 or 5. And if you were to look up in a dictionary all of those individual words, you would get an extremely different meaning than what it actually means to us in our culture. So for example, if we say that Tina let the cat out of the bag when she told her friend's secret, she didn't actually take a bag, open it up, and let a little cat wander out. That didn't happen. Okay? But if we were to look that up in the dictionary, that's exactly what we would think had happened. In our culture, we have assigned that phrase a totally different meaning. So when we say someone let the cat out of the bag, it means they told something that they weren't supposed to tell. That was a secret, okay, or was supposed to be reserved until a later time. Here are 6 examples and non-examples of idioms. So you will want to pause your screen and again, place a check if it is an idiom, place an X if it is not. Please restart this video when you are ready. Okay, number 1, Jessica had to bite the bullet and go to the dentist when she had a toothache. She is not actually biting a bullet. Okay, what that phrase has come to mean to us is to do something that's difficult or something that we don't want to do. So that would be an idiom. And again, that would just be this phrase right here, bite the bullet, not the whole sentence. Just this phrase is the idiom. Number 2, Nico told Mindy she was going on a wild goose chase when she went searching for buried treasure on the beach. That is also an idiom. The idiom is wild goose chase. It doesn't mean that she is running around chasing geese on the beach. What he means by this when he tells her this is that she is searching for something that she's probably never going to find. Number 3, Sandy vowed to never be friends with Carissa again. Sandy felt it was the last straw when Carissa posted an embarrassing picture of Sandy online. So, last straw is the idiom here. It doesn't actually mean that she found the last straw in the bin at Dunkin' Donuts or something like that. So it means that she's had enough. That's what the last straw is. She can't take any more. Number 4, the wind chimes giggled merrily on the warm summer day. This is not an idiom, but maybe you guessed what it is. Take another look at that sentence and see, what is that? Got it? It's personification. Wind chimes cannot giggle. 5, the dog said, today has been rough. Well, there's a little bit of personification going on here because we're giving the dog the ability to talk, but this is more of a pun. So we know that dogs often say rough. That's one of the onomatopoeias assigned to them. So there's an onomatopoeia there, but it's also a pun, a play on the word rough. Typically, we would spell that R-O-U-G-H. And finally, number 6, Craig is off his rocker if he thinks I'm going to do his homework for him. He didn't literally fall out of a rocking chair. That's not what that means. Off his rocker has come to mean crazy. So that is an idiom. So the phrase off his rocker is the idiom. Next, pun. Pun is a humorous way of using a word, so one word, that has more than one meaning that is suggested when you say it in the sentence or in the phrase. So, many of you might remember, if you think back to the first 9 weeks, I had you take notes on puns in your notebook, and then we went online and we found 4 different memes that were puns to cut out and tape into your notebook. So maybe you remember that activity, maybe you can think back to that. The important thing here is you want a word in your sentence that has at least 2 or more definitions. And when you use the incorrect definition of that word in your sentence, it comes to mean 2 different things, and one interpretation is humorous and one interpretation is serious. So it can be interpreted both ways. So here are some examples. Again, you want to place a check if it's an example, an X if it's not, and again, you want to pause your screen. I'm sure you're getting tired of hearing me say that, but don't forget to pause your screen, replay when you're ready. Okay, number 1, the grizzly built his den with his bare hands. So when we hear the word bear, B-A-R-E, that means, hands and just with his own hands. But if we think about bear like B-E-A-R, then that is kind of funny because a grizzly is a type of bear. So that would be a pun. Number 2, Belinda's teddy bear rarely attended her tea parties. He was always stuffed. So the word stuffed is the word that makes it a pun because her teddy bear is actually stuffed with filling. But it's also a play on the fact that we say we're stuffed when we've had too much food and we're full. Number 3, Stephen was all bark and no bite. That's actually an idiom. The phrase all bark and no bite means that you might seem very intimidating and mean and angry, but you're not actually that kind of person. Number 4, the rabbit was having a bad hair day. The word hair, H-A-I-R, in this case means, like your hair doesn't look very nice. But in this case, it could also be interpreted as H-A-R-E. A hair is another word for rabbit, a synonym for rabbit. So that's the play on the word there. Number 5, the book was thinner after its appendix was removed. The play on the word here is appendix. So you might think of the word appendix as the organ in your body, but an appendix is also additional information at the end of a book. So this is the play on the word appendix here. And number 6, to break the ice at the company picnic, Carla put conversation starters on the tables. Break the ice is an idiom. It is not a pun. Break the ice has come to mean to get things started, to help people get to know one another. That's what break the ice means. This is new. Oxymoron. We did not talk about oxymorons before you left. And it does not mean a person who is not very intelligent. It is a phrase that combines 2 contradictory or opposite words. So you want to look for 2 words that seem to mean the opposite of each other in the same sentence. Try this. Again, pause your screen. Okay, number 1 is an oxymoron. And the reason why is because this phrase, known secret. Secrets are not supposed to be known. So when we put the word known in front of secret, this makes it an oxymoron. 2 completely contrasting ideas or opposite ideas. 2 is also an oxymoron. Curtis bought an awfully nice computer. Awful means something terrible. Nice obviously means nice or kind. So awful and nice put together would be an oxymoron. The blobfish is pretty ugly. And I will warn you, if you Google blobfish, they are really kind of gross looking. So pretty, obviously we know what pretty means. We know what ugly means. When you put them together, that's an oxymoron. Number 4, the biology teacher's pet was a German Shepherd. This is a pun. So teacher's pet, we might think of that as someone who sucks up to the teacher. But in this case, it could also just mean that her pet literally was a German Shepherd. So that's a pun, a play on words. Carlisle ate some jumbo shrimp. Jumbo and shrimp, so large and small, that's an oxymoron. And 6, the movie was a tragic comedy. So typically we think